Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Lynn Zimmerman of myenergymedicine.com and author of Heal Yourself Using the Mind-Body Connection. My work is brain plasticity. I teach people how to rewire their brain in specific ways so that they can rewrite their life the way they want it. Emotional pain, suffering that goes on and on, physical suffering that remains after everything else has been exhausted, and self-sabotage. People who feel stuck, they keep making the same mistakes over and over again and they can't figure out why. They know what they need to do and they're doing it, but it's not working. These people learn how to rewire their brain so that they can rewrite their life. Virtually every day I talk to people like this and they tell me what their issues and challenges, what their long-term problems have cost them, how much it has taken from their life, the time they've missed with their families because they're in too much pain, the job promotions and the career leverages that they've missed, the joy and spontaneity that they just can't manage anymore. They talk to me about these very deep losses, and when I talk to them at first, it seems impossible to them that they can change things. And I understand that, I do. But because of what I see in my work every day, the impossible transformations that I see, impossible. The word impossible has taken on an entirely new meaning for me. People stashing their wheelchairs in their garage and being able to go back to work, doing things they never thought that they could do. People looking in the mirror and loving who they are and seeing who they really are, valuing themselves completely, and because of that, creating relationships of reciprocity and value and love and caring. People reinventing their careers and doubling and quadrupling their incomes. Because I see things like this every day and that all looked impossible before, I know what these people can do and I know what you can do. Every one of us has it in us to rewire our brain and rewrite our life. When you learn how to rewire your brain, you can rewrite your life in the way that you want it. Any part of it or all of it, if that's what you choose. Quantum physics tells us that for every circumstance, there are millions of viable solutions, and all of them are equally viable, including the ones that seem difficult to us or impossible. What we know from molecular biology, cell biology, and epigenetics and brain plasticity is that for each one of us with our identical genetic blueprint can create 30,000 different versions of ourselves. Our brain can do this when it changes its form and function. It's remarkable, and you're going to be able to do this for yourself too. Today is the first of 12 videos that will show you how to rewire your brain in specific ways. Using a cutting-edge process, which I love. It is transforming the lives of millions of people every day, and it is also transforming clinical practices, healthcare practices worldwide. Today you're going to learn how to use this technique to rewire, to change the way your brain handles stress. This might seem like kind of a generic topic. How big is stress anyway? Really, when we think about stress, most of us think about someone having a heart attack when they get to be 60 or 70 or 80. I mean, that's how we think about stress, right? But the truth is, stress is the #1 cause of adult overweight. It has been correlated with not just adult weight gain, and I mean adult weight gain without changing anything else. We're eating, we're exercising the same, but we're gaining weight. It has also been correlated positively with specifically midline fat deposits, loss of muscle mass and muscle strength, muscle pain and weakness, chronic fatigue that doesn't end, sleep loss, clinical depression, wrinkled, sagging skin prematurely, and also the kind of cell damage that causes cancer and other lingering diseases and early death. So all of these are the effects of our daily stress. We don't know it because we're so used to it, but it's impacting us dramatically MDs estimate that as much as 95% of each of their practice visits are from a stress-related disorder. So if we can mitigate that in our lives, how much more fun can we have? How much greater quality can we have in our life if we can minimize our stress and change the way our body's processing it so it's not causing this kind of damage? So how does stress make us fat, for instance? How does that even happen? When we react to something that our brain sees as a threat, when our brain sees something it thinks is stressful, it automatically responds pouring on the fight or flight mechanism, engaging the sympathetic nervous system. It floods our body with glucocorticoids, naturally occurring steroids, including cortisol. Also, it constricts our blood vessels to our digestive system and shunts all of the rest of the blood to our muscles so that we can run, so that we can actually flee or fight whatever it is that the brain thinks is a danger to us. And it does this all day long, not just when we are aware of a big stress. Okay? Stress chemicals are produced all day long at a purely unconscious level. Okay? When we react to little mini stresses all day long, we are continually pouring glucocorticoids, blood sugar, into our bloodstream. And when we do that consistently all day long for little mini stresses, unconsciously again, we're not doing this purposely, but our brain is doing it hundreds of times a day unconsciously, we lower our resting insulin levels. This is what causes weight gain directly, and also specifically diabetes and kidney problems. It also, there's another peptide, a hormone of emotion that's produced in the brain that's at work here. It was discovered in a study at Georgetown University Medical Center. And in this study, rats who were stressed, who were also fed a diet that included sugar and fat, the stuff we crave when we're stressed, sugar and fat, they increased midline density because of this neuropeptide by 50% in 2 weeks. Recently, I spoke with a CPA who's a friend, and he said, it's amazing that you should mention that because I experienced this just now in my life. I am going through a lawsuit, and even though I am entirely in the right and the law's on my side and I have always done everything right in this instance, I'm not at fault and I know it, still this is coming to me from an area of my life that I never would have expected. And in 2 months I have put on 25 pounds even though I'm exercising and eating the same, 25 pounds, and it's right here in my middle. Stress also causes direct pain to us. When we react to little mini stresses all day long, adrenaline is fed to our muscles, but it's not used up. We're not fleeing from tigers or bears or some physical danger. And so the adrenaline ends up pooling in our muscle tissue and causing little aches and pains that we didn't have before. Cortisol is also responsible for increased pain sensitivity in long-term illnesses like chronic fatigue. Stress also is directly correlated with damage to a part of the brain called the hippocampus, which is responsible for making memories. The hippocampus takes our experiences, encodes them, and makes them into memories for us. When we react to little stressful situations in our environment, every time we have an emotional reaction, our job, family, finances, cortisol is flooding our system, and when it flows enough to the hippocampus of the brain, we begin to actually kill off those hippocampus cells, those brain cells, and we begin to experience brain fog and memory loss. Long term, the same damage to the hippocampus of the brain has been shown to cause clinical depression, the kind of depression we associate with taking antidepressants in order to get through the day. Okay, so another really extreme effect of regular stress in our lives. Loss of muscle mass and skin tone and skin regeneration. Cortisol causes us to not be able to renew the collagen in our body. Collagen is a molecule that's part of all of our structural tissues, muscles, cartilage, joints, our skin. Collagen is a part of all of that, and we cannot renew collagen enough when we are producing cortisol all the time, the stress hormone. So as a result, we look in the mirror and we think, I'm a lot older than I looked last year. I look older than I should look. We should look young for a long time, and given the unconscious stress that we're dealing with all the time, we look older. Also, actual wrinkles in our skin, premature wrinkling. Cortisol causes collagen loss. In a study of stressed rats, collagen loss was the greatest in the skin, 10 times greater than any other organ of the body, due to cortisol. I spoke with an ophthalmologist recently. She sees her patients once a year, and she said, I have patients whom I saw a year ago, but this year they are 10 years older. They tell me they're dealing with a chronic pain problem, and I am seeing that the stress of that pain is causing their skin to sag and actually lines and wrinkles to form. They are looking 10 years older, though I saw them a year ago. Another effect of stress. Stress really hurts us in our vanity. It's the one place that can really motivate us to change things. Also, another area of premature aging, and here we're talking about cortisol versus DHEA. The adrenal glands produce not just cortisol, but also DHEA, which is known also as the miracle hormone or the youth hormone. DHEA protects us from the effects of cortisol. It protects us from stress. It makes us more energetic, it improves our mood, it makes us look younger. The adrenal glands can only produce either cortisol or DHEA. They can only produce one at a time. And it takes 30 minutes after an episode of stress for the adrenal glands to break down the molecules of cortisol and reassemble those building blocks into DHEA. So when you're thinking about this, for a moment, ask yourself, when's the last time you had 30 minutes of unstressed bliss, 30 consecutive minutes in a day, when you weren't thinking about what you have to do tomorrow or your next deadline, or when you didn't have some kind of agenda running on the back burner of your brain? You're not giving yourself enough time to regenerate. Also, faulty cellular repair, scrambling our DNA. This is a part of stress that affects us in ways that most people are completely unaware of. When we replicate our cells, we know that our cells are constantly being cast off and we're replicating new cells all day long, right? In the period of 2.5 to 3.5 years, we have an entirely new body because we're always casting off old cells and making new ones. What helps us to produce healthy cells, genetically identical cells, is that the ends of our chromosomes are protected by structures called telomeres. Each time a cell divides to make new cells, a little bit of telomere shortening occurs. And but because the telomeres are still intact, we're replicating ourselves with healthy DNA. Cortisol causes the end caps, the telomeres of the chromosomes, to become frayed, to become damaged. And because of that, when they shorten enough and become damaged enough, the raw chromosomes are exposed, and the genetic information, the genetic material can become scrambled and mixed. When we replicate our cells under those conditions, we're replicating cells with scrambled DNA, with scrambled genetic information. This is how we can develop cancer, a number of other long-term lasting degenerative illnesses, and experience an early death when it's completely unnecessary. Okay? One of the more tragic effects of stress. Everything is connected. We may think that we have compartmentalized our stress, especially if we're in a long-term situation that we feel is not going to change. A job that's stressful, a long-term relationship that's stressful. We don't compartmentalize our stress. Within 3 seconds of perceiving any kind of stress, automatically, unconsciously, the brain is flooding our system with stress hormones. Conscious or unconscious. This is a really important distinction. Most of the time we know when we're consciously stressed, right? A friend or a relative receives a really scary diagnosis. We have a near miss in traffic. We almost get into an accident and we go, thank God. We lie awake at night thinking about an upcoming tax bill or the mortgage. Those are times when we know we're stressed. These are our stress episodes that kind of punctuate our life. It's actually the unconscious stress, the stuff that we're experiencing and that our brain is reacting to at a purely unconscious level all day long. That's the stress that is going to cause us these huge problems, okay? Unconscious stress, okay? Subconscious messages are 96% of our brain processing power. This is what the most recent studies tell us, that only 4% of our brain is the conscious part, making goals, getting there. 96% of our brain messages are subconscious. Some of them we know about, the fantastic ones, the ones that cause our lungs to inflate and our heart to beat, life-affirming subconscious messages. There are also subconscious messages, millions of them, that are going to every cell of our body and to our centers of emotion in every moment of the day, causing sabotage, causing us to respond to events and circumstances and people in ways that don't serve us. These subconscious messages are the ones that cause us to do something that creates stress in our life, then overeat or overdrink or pick a fight with someone that we care about, looking for catharsis, and then berate ourselves for not being a better person or not having more willpower. These are subconscious messages that are sabotaging us. These are the ones that keep us from going where we want to go in our life. We begin downloading these when we're yet unborn. These are brain messages that we absorb from our parents and that form our perceptual filter. So how do we change what we're not generating ourselves? How do we change the 96% of our brain that's sending subconscious messages about stress, for instance, responding to life's events in ways that don't serve us? How do we change 96% of our brain messages if they're hardwired and unconscious and they're not serving us? And how could we rewire them to serve us? How could we rewire our brain so that it's sending subconscious messages all the time that do serve us? I get this question many, many times every week, and the answer is we can rewire our brain. We can change even our subconscious messages. We have to discover what they are, what the subconscious messages are that are creating what we don't want in our life, and heal those messages, rewire them, transform them. I see amazing things happen as a result of people rewiring their brain every day. In the next video, part 2 of this video, you will learn how to use this amazing technique called EFT, or acupoint tapping, to rewire your brain. You'll see how it rewires your brain, how it transforms old wiring, and how it can actually rewire your brain to create the kind of life that you want. This capability is in every one of us. In the next video, you'll learn how to use it. You're going to love it. I'll see you in the next video. I'm Dr. Lynn Zimmerman.